Okay, we're here today on realagriculture.com at the Tiffin Conference in Lethbridge. We're here right now with Ryan Casco from the Casco Cattle Company based in Coaldale, Alberta. Welcome today, Ryan.
Hi, Sean.
Okay, Ryan, in 2008, you took a trip down to Brazil on, an exploratory, agriculturally based holiday, but you were definitely there to learn. What was one of the very first things you noticed about Brazilian agriculture?
Well, I'd have to say that my first experience in the farm country was looking at forest plantations. And I'm almost hard to distinguish the two because Brazilian forestry is so productive. And literally seeing eucalyptus plantations and how quickly they can grow, everything came to light to me about how productive that country can be for farming. And they were essentially farming trees there.
Yeah. There's a lot of tree farms all over South America. Is that industry was it really going full steam ahead, or was it?
It really was. The forestry companies that we toured and visited with had some really grand plans. They were buying more and more land. Land prices were going up. They were doing some really sophisticated planning projects, and it was that was very interesting to see.
So what about Brazilian beef production? We hear, as North Americans, really, we hear a lot about what's going on in Brazil. What were some of the issues or things that you saw with Brazilian beef production?
Well, first off, when it comes to beef in Brazil, I'd have to say it tasted pretty good.
Yeah.
And we ate a lot of beef while we were there and enjoyed it. And looking at their cattle being produced, I was surprised that they were fairly sophisticated. They have a lot of potential to really make their cattle more productive, and they're working on crossbreeding and more intensive grazing and rotational grazing, all those types of things. But even without being super sophisticated, they were just a huge industry. 190 some million cattle compared to 13 million in Canada. There was just a lot of cows. Yeah.
So for those of us that have not been to Brazil, is the finishing process all grazing, or is there feed yards? Or
yeah, there's feedlots that are very similar to what you'd see in southern Texas, and commonly 5,000 to 10,000 head feedlots, but they had some really large ones as well. And most of the cattle were fed for just a short period of time in a feedlot, maybe like 70 days or so, and it was pretty good cattle feeding area. Some of their bigger problems were the heat there where I was. But for the most part, cattle are finished out on grass, so it does take longer to finish them there.
Yeah. So your family owns a feed yard in Coaldale. As a finisher of beef, what was sort of your perception? Did you leave there thinking, we've got the upper hand, we're going to be able to compete? Or did you leave there a little bit, we've got some work to do?
Well, I left there thinking, okay, we have a very good product in Canada, and we've got aggressive and sophisticated people running operations here. But Brazil has got decent systems, but they have very hungrily aggressive young guys that want to be farmers. And I know that maybe we don't have enough fire in our belly at times but I was surprised that they have a lot of potential to really kick it in gear.
So who owned the farm ownership structure in Brazil? Was it old families that had somebody that was just kind of running the farm estate, or owner operators, or how did that work?
Yeah, well, there's predominantly two kinds of farms. One kind we didn't see a whole lot of, to be honest with you. They were the subsistent farmers, which is hundreds of thousands of people just barely getting by. But then there was the large sophisticated farms, and the ones that we visited, mostly they were run by managers. They had the owners were living somewhere else. And the
in
farm
the city or something like that.
They lived in a city, and they were maybe more investors in the farm, and they didn't quite have the same connection that we do here to you're out there every day taking care of your nickels and dimes, but they were still making it work the way they were doing it.
So was beef consumption? You said you eat a lot of beef while you were there.
Yeah.
Beef consumption is very high in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
What was sort of from a eating perspective? Did you get any feedback how they felt about beef? Was beef it's a main staple, or how
It really was. It was a main staple. We ate beef in the morning for a little bit of breakfast. We'd have bread, some cheese, and a few slices of meat. We'd eat a lot of beef at lunchtime, and they had like kind of a by the kilo buffets where you weighed your food and paid by the weight. So we ate beef then, and we'd have dinner where they'd have rice and beans and beef again.
Yeah.
So it was not uncommon to eat beef 3 times a day. But I can imagine that the poorer people in Brazil, beef was not as big of a part of their diet. And I met one vegetarian while I was there, so I said, "Man, you've got to be like one of the freaks of this country."
Yeah.
But I think their beef consumption is declining. But 20 years ago, it was just incredibly high. Like it's just hard to imagine they could consume that much.
So, would you, whether someone's a beef producer or is a soy and corn farmer, would you encourage people to go there and see it for themselves?
Oh, for sure. I think traveling to any country to see how they operate has value. But Brazil is just that special country because they have so much potential that I think whatever industry you're in, Brazil is an exciting place to visit.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us today, Ryan.
Thanks a lot, Sean.